Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just put a thumbs up. We got Eric and Otto joining in a second. Starts. Okay, let me just add them so they can speak. Okay, Otto, I just invited you to speak. You can do so now.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah?
Perfect. Well, let's just recap for everybody that couldn't listen the first time. Pleasure to meet you all, and thank you for joining. My name is Otto Erik. I come from the banking world, did banking, corporate and investment banking for over 10 years before switching into the fintech space. In the latest engagements, I work for companies like Market, the Intercontinental Exchange, and the World Bank, where I have come across instances and projects where the use of new technologies like blockchain and artificial intelligence has been material in bringing new solutions, whether it's trading platforms or enhanced liquidity for securities, both in the listed space as well as in the OTC and private market securities. I came across the Sologenic project a couple of weeks ago, and I'm happy to be joining now in this effort. I believe this is great technology that with our efforts, hopefully will get massified and bring not only access, but better understanding of how all the benefits that tokenization and blockchain can bring, especially into the securities market. Let's use that as a way of introduction. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Otto. No, that's great. I think we're just gonna wait for Eric so he can do his intro again. He was just added as a speaker, and then we can, go into the questions we have prepared.
Yep, I'm all set, Fabio. Thanks.
All good.
I'll go quickly, everybody. This is third time's a charm. So yeah, as I mentioned before, started off my career in traditional finance. Worked for big bank in the city of Chicago. Worked in trade operations. Then got some experience at a broker dealer and investment advisor, doing relationship management with customers, working with traditional financial products, bonds, stocks. From there, went on to lead our institutional investment arm for our investment advisor, where I was selling to institutional clients. We were doing structured financial products, and we were doing custom portfolio solutions for large entities like local governments, pension funds, things of that nature. So did that for several years, then decided I wanted to make the change over to the digital asset space. Saw all of the innovation that was happening and knew that it's kind of the wave of the future. So had the opportunity to go work over at a digital asset custodian this past year, and then saw what Sologenic was doing in the tokenized asset space, seeing what all of the larger institutions are really focused on, really being that asset tokenization side of the business in crypto. And so I wanted to, make sure that I positioned myself to really, take advantage where I saw all the development happening. So that's why I made the jump over to Sologenic, and I'm really excited about what we're working on here.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Well, now that you guys have met the team, Otto and Eric, I think we can dive into the topic of today's AMA, which is the Sologenic Tokenization Pilot Program. And I think we can start with the reasoning behind this pilot program. There's a couple of points that will this program will bring to the table. One of them is to actually test and learn, right? How to put this technology to market. What is the market sentiment? How do users reply to things like that go from UX UI perspectives to the actual mechanics of how it works. The second reasoning is to set a precedent for our application for other licenses in UAE or Europe. So in that sense, I will let Otto perhaps address a first topic on what are the benefits of tokenizing securities.
Okay, thank you, Fabio. Well, just to add on your points, right? One of the main goals as well, and as you know and have known Sologenic for being a community-driven solution, it is important that in this pilot we also are planning to test not only the technology and the product, but also how the community, how we can better integrate more community and expand this community, right? So in that sense, that's why, as Fabio mentioned, choosing the right marketplaces, the right places where to establish a license is very important. And that's one of the things that we are going to be focused with Eric in the next couple of months. Now, as to what kind of benefits.
Hey Otto, you were accidentally mute.
Okay. All right. I don't know how much do you hear, but let's dive into the what benefits for the financial markets, right? As you all know, the financial industry is one of the most regulated and also the backbone of the world's economy. So, by means of using blockchain and tokenization specifically, the increment that we expect to add to the liquidity across different securities is going to be enormous, right? So that's why we are very pro crypto and pro tokenization of securities. This pilot is aimed also at testing not only the liquidity, but also adding in terms of transparency, in terms of security, all these pillars that will bring comfort not only to the regulators, but also to the adopting community. The more we can spend in adding liquidity, adding transferability, adding security, adding ownership, because one of the things that we have seen in the market is that centralized venues and highly regulated venues where users and consumers and investors do not hold the control of their own risk, it's what has brought many of the difficulties that the financial and limitations that the traditional financial markets have experienced. So one of the things that I see personally as a huge advantage of bringing blockchain and tokenization into the traditional financial markets is giving back the control to the public, meaning the investors, the consumers, the traders, and by means of that, I mean, not depending on third-party centralized custodians, for example. This is part of the vision that we have. The more we can bring and disintermediate the market, the more efficiencies in terms of cost, the lower the cost of transactions. It will also access better pools of capital and liquidity. So far, we all understand that tokenization and technology will bring much more added value. The question is how fast and for how long, right? And that's one of the main focus that we have with this pilot, to anticipate how much we can scale up and really multiply all the benefits that we already know technology has brought into the financial markets.
Awesome. Thank you, Otto. I think, Eric, feel free to chime in whenever you feel like it. I think I skipped one of the questions. So we've spoken a little bit about securities, but why and what asset classes are we aiming to tokenize?
Well, yeah, and I can just add a point as well. I think if I can kind of just speak kind of more, just a little bit more plainly, because when I I think we all have these conversations with people that are pro crypto and people that are the naysayers, and where the vision for the entire industry is headed. So I think about it. I think about how I speak with my parents about it. Right? They're the naysayer group. Right? The older generation is, why do we need this? The current banking system works just fine. Everything is great. We look at our stock portfolio. There's no reason to change it, right? And so my response to that is yes. So you look at the U.S., we have the infrastructure in place, everything is there. But what we're not thinking about is look at the rest of the world and their lack of financial infrastructure. They just don't have the same access to the banks like we do. They can't rely on FDIC insurance coverage should anything go wrong at a bank. There's political corruption in all different parts of the world that, when you're kind of in your own little world, and we have things that we do, these are not a concern. But if we start thinking about, other parts of the world where the government, has control of the currency, or they can shut off the currency whenever there's any sort of political revolution that's not in their favor. All these sorts of things that we've seen kind of happening over the globe the last several years. This is where new innovation can really help. And again, like Otto pointed out, obviously the bigger pieces are you're going to be gaining access to all different types of capital from local markets that just don't have access to save, invest, trade, like we take for granted here in the U.S. in parts where they have, really well functioning financial systems. So it's just opening up that infrastructure without having to build a whole new Wall Street or a whole new NASDAQ. You're going to gain access to that capital by being able to tokenize real world assets. And I think Fabio kind of wanted to tap into the type of markets that we're going to be really focusing on. And I think, the big ones obviously are stocks and ETFs, commodities. But I think there's also real world potential for private markets that don't have access to the same capital that, our private equity markets do here in the U.S. And then there's also the option for further down the road real estate, thinking about how you can kind of tokenize those pieces and carve those pieces up similar to like you would with a REIT. However, you're going to be gaining access to more liquidity, which, REITs are not a particularly liquid type of real estate investment, but and it makes it harder to transfer ownership with those types of structures as well. So it comes down to different types of legal structures that you can do with blockchain, different types of or added liquidity to all these different types of assets. That's really what you're opening up the world to, and again, just gaining access to parts of the world that just don't have it.
Thank you, Eric. I really like that approach of speaking more plainly. We have all sorts of people within our audience that know a lot about financial markets, or perhaps they are more in the blockchain side of things, and they're just learning about how this, synergy between those two could potentially work. Otto, is there anything you want to add in regards to why are we choosing these asset classes to start with? Or just in that regards to stocks, ETFs, what benefits? We can start talking about that. What benefits could tokenization bring for them?
No, absolutely. And I follow in the same line from Eric, right? Because I think that's the most important message, breaking up the boundaries, right? Whether the boundaries come from political instances or economic instances or simply distance, right? One of the greatest benefits that the internet and global technologies, new technologies has brought is that there is no space. There's no limit in space, time, or kind of asset. Now, all these transitions, of course, is not just to kind of like clap the hands and everything has moved from the traditional markets into the blockchain. So what that means is we have to have and be disciplined. You have to have a route to follow. So what I could add at this point is, and to your question as to what kind of assets, we're going to start obviously with the assets that are most commonly traded, the ones that are most commonly recognizable, and that will mean equity, right? Listed equity, shares of companies that are publicly listed, ETFs, other type of securities that are already known, listed, and easily tradable. But in the future, I definitely can see our technology, and that's one of the things that I personally would be excited about, and that Eric tapped on, is bringing also the private securities, those markets that have not had the access. Think of a small and medium company, right, that is growing and is breaking out with new solutions in a market in remote Asia, for example, right? And sometimes for them to reach to investors or to get to know that project, be known in the US or in London, is quite hard if you follow the traditional route. One of the things that we are laying out is that highway, right, where anybody in anywhere can trade any asset that will be in the platform. That will require, that's where the tokenization comes in place, because you don't necessarily have to put all your risk in one market or go through a specific security or even know about blockchain, right? So one of the most exciting things that I think we should focus all in following up what's going to happen after and during and after this pilot is how this objective of really democratizing the access to financial markets, traditionally being very limited, is going to expand, right? So that anybody can access it without being an expert in finance or without being an expert in blockchain, is making it user friendly.
I love that. Yes, we were talking previously, right, Otto, about the importance of the UX, the UI, for this technology to work. I think we can now tackle a little bit more about the entry barrier. So I just want to compare the entry barrier to the actual financial market right now. To if you want to invest in stocks, to what we would implement in Sologenic. What are we planning to, what pains are we planning to distress? What is the plan in that front?
Sure. You want to start on that? Well, definitely financial markets, like I mentioned before, right? Even though our goal is to, remove those boundaries, we have to deal with a reality which is high regulation. So one of the things that we are setting up is the proper licenses. We are looking at different jurisdictions that will lend the best scenario, let's say, or the best framework for us to attain those goals, right? So when we're talking about providing global access and expanding the asset classes that we will be able to allow trading for, we are right now working with Eric, with Fabio, and the rest of the team in finding those jurisdictions, those countries where we can settle those licenses and have the proper infrastructure. So that's one thing. We need to be in compliance, right? So being in compliance with the regulators so that this really builds trust. I think historically, and that will not change for sure, financial markets are about trust. So for us to gain your trust, the community's trust, we have to set up the proper framework, both from a regulatory perspective as well as from a technology perspective. So while we set that up, second point important that we are putting together is transparency, right? Is transparency means many things in our context. It's not only the transparency as to how do we onboard a new user or open an account, which is good for compliance, but also transparency as to what's happening with your tokens, where do you have them, what can you do with them, right? There's no information that is being hidden from the users as long as the users come across through the processes and the rules of the game, let's say, right? So all this comes to what I call setting up the proper framework for the game that we're going to play. Technology-wise, I have to be honest, I will probably invite in a future or upcoming AMA our CTO. I'm yet to get fully acquainted with all the technology, but I can say that for what I have so far learned and seen and tested is very robust. That doesn't mean that it's finished. All you know that technology is an evolving animal, right? So we also need to spend this next months in improving, not only from an accessibility perspective, improving user experience, UI, but also in terms of the whole scalability. If we want to serve multiple markets with different securities, scalability is going to be key as well. So, I mean, I could go on, but I would say those three elements, that securing a proper and solid technology to service the markets that will allow us to escalate and expand and really attain our goals, that's the main purpose of the next or the following months.
No, I definitely agree with that, Otto. I invite the community to actually test, the Sologenic tokenization platform that is currently pulling data live for the New York Exchange and the Nasdaq one, and just to try it out and let us know, what features can be improved, what do you think it's lacking, or what is working, right? I took a look with Otto and Erik, I think it was yesterday, and we pointed out some features that could be added, some ideas, and overall, it all comes down to making it a smoother user experience on the platform.
Correct.
I think now we can talk a little bit about the costs, especially how features like fractionalizing the ownership of a token that represents a security, how this actually benefits the end user. And perhaps, Erik, you can chime in this topic.
Sure. So when I'm thinking about that component of what we're trying to accomplish here, so I think the nice thing about the tokenization aspect of what we're trying to do is that it allows for the creation of more accurate and efficient market, which leads to more accurate pricing in the market, right? We talked about eliminating kind of the middleman, the brokers within this type of structure. So, you're going to decrease spreads, which is ultimately going to make trading cheaper for our customers. That is a really nice element to this. And then on top of it, when you think about the strategy behind how you're going to trade, this tokenization component also has the potential to minimize taxable events for customers that are trading. So think about it: if you're this new way of trading will allow you to exchange between tokenized assets versus having to go through the exercise of selling off, changing into fiat, creating a taxable event, depending on how long you're holding that particular asset for, whether it's going to be a capital gains or a longer term holding, or and then going ahead and purchasing the new asset that you're looking to trade in. So versus creating that taxable event, you can actually minimize those by just being able to exchange between tokenized assets. Again, depending on how markets are responding or whatever type of niche market that you're trading in, it'll just allow you to do it more efficiently. So I think those are also interesting factors. Again, who knows? The more that this type of technology gets accepted, the government may decide to change those types of things and saying, hey, if you're transferring between assets, that may cause a taxable event. You never know. But as of right now, the way that at least the U.S. Policies are written, it wouldn't. So, who knows what that means for down the road? But at least for now, we know that there's kind of a way to, circumvent or get around those types of elements by creating this tokenized asset piece.
That's true. And it really has to do with transferability as well, right?
Yeah.
There's it definitely improves
Well,
settlements, for example. It's like Ripple, for example, is a company that focuses on cross-border payments, right? And that's why we decided to start building on the XRPL, I think, because it's fast, reliable, and secure. But in the future, we definitely see potential, for example, using coreum's smart token technology and just opening more use cases within that realm. Otto,
yeah, I
sorry to
just
interrupt.
wanted to
Were you
add.
gonna? Yeah.
In this whole context, right? And you both clearly explained, but I think it comes down to one word, which is efficiency, right? The premise against all
Mm-hmm.
this, or behind all this, not against it, is that the markets have so far, especially financial markets, have not been efficient, right? Even though they work, efficiency means achieving higher levels of streamlining, for example, right, and making it making it easier to perform any activity. So the fact that we are aiming to be able to add efficiency per se, it will have impact on the cost, to your point, right? But also I want to point out two other costs that are usually not incorporated in this math of financial markets, which are all these externalities. And the fact that, for example, we are leveraging proof of stake, it also brings additional efficiency in terms of the cost that it will have, not only from a transactional point of view, but for an economic point of view. We all know the benefits that a proof of stake brings in terms of how much more energy you're saving, how much cost you are saving in terms of the cryptocurrencies or the units that you will use to trade those tokens. So it's beyond just removing the middleman, which is an immediate, let's say, a benefit, but there's also sustainable long-term benefits that accrue with the efficiency that technology brings and with all those externalities that will come to be more transparent and improve the calculation of those costs related to a transaction. So I think that the cost will be seen as a main factor on where we can really see if we are achieving our goals or not. And of course we will.
That's true. I think even if we take the Sologenic DEX, for example, right now, how the mechanics of it, how it works, it really leverages low cost transactions and overall just giving you that feel as if you were trading in a traditional platform, but it's decentralized. I would like to actually invite now Bob, who's joining us here in this call, to perhaps round up some points in terms of what's next and the overall vision that this pilot program brings to Sologenic. I think he's about to join, but oh yeah, there he goes.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm not trying to steal the stage, so I'd rather just to be quiet and listen to you guys. I've been enjoying that, and if there's any topic that I can elaborate, I'm more than happy to discuss that.
Yeah, I think a topic that perhaps you can give just a high level opinion on what you think is in the topic of proof of solvency that you had an interview recently on FinTech TV and just how Sologenic envisions to fulfill that requirement, right? To be transparent and stay transparent.
That's actually a great question. In terms of Sologenic product and services, if you, as you know, most of the services they are decentralized. So that means that we always try to develop all the products that we are working on for Sologeny in a decentralized manner. That means that they are mainly non-custodial products. For example, Sologenic Dex, NFT marketplace, as well as the new product which is going to be live perhaps in a few weeks, which is a launchpad. So, but when you're talking about tokenized securities, as you can imagine, the traditional financial market is heavily regulated, and there is no way that you can completely provide a service in a decentralized manner. But what we have done, we try to come up with a hybrid model. So that means that users, they can actually tokenize asset and stocks on solojake.com, which is actually the tokenization ecosystem in a centralized manner. Obviously, they need to pass KYC, they need to pass, the AML screening. So once they are onboarded, and they can actually whitelist their wallet address, and they can start tokenizing assets. They can start to trading these assets within the platform. However, at any point of time, the users, they can transfer out these tokenized stocks to their own private wallet, which is on the XRP ledger at this moment. But down the road, we're going to be providing the support for coreum networks as well. So once that these tokenized assets they are they have been transferred outside of sologenic.com, what's going to happen is users that are able to trade these assets on the DEX with other users. But the way that we try to keep everything which is within the regulations and in a function everything in the compliance matter is anyone who's trading these assets on the DEX, in order to do that, they have to whitelist their wallet addresses, right? And that means that they need to create a trust line with Sologenic issuing address. In order to do that, they have to come back to sologenic.com, go through the onboarding process, which is obviously KYC and AML screening. Once that step is done, their wallet address is going to be whitelisted, and these users are able to trade these assets, on the decentralized exchange as well. In terms of your question about proof of solvency, going back to that question, I think it's very important topic, especially with, for example, you guys know what happened with FTX. So I think we are at this stage that all the people within the crypto space, they have to support transparency and regulation to come in effect. This is in long term. This is going to help everyone, and this is going to help all the crypto projects to grow significantly.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Bob. I think that was a topic that we needed to elaborate more on. And if you think about it, once your wallet is whitelisted, right, on the platform, then it really becomes a smooth experience between both sides of the trading, right? Like the decentralized branch, Sologenic.org and Sologenic.com. I've tried it, and it really becomes a smooth process where you can trade tokenized stocks against other cryptocurrencies, against stable coins, and just all the possibilities it unveils. Anything you guys want to add, Otto, Erik, feel free to interrupt.
Well, I just want to stress that how important and valuable for us is that people use and test with our environment. The more feedback we can get in terms of what would make this experience better, because the better we make it, the easier will be to expand and be adoptable, right? And so for you to refer and test and try with friends, with your other colleagues, the more usage, the more we can learn, and the more we can learn, the better the product we can deliver for you guys. So I would just want to stress that, how important it is for us to have that feedback from the community.
Awesome. I think it's speaking about the community, we have about 10 minutes left, and I think we have time to open the floor for a couple or maybe three community questions. So anyone that wants to participate, feel free to raise their hand, and I will give you the speaking option. Okay. I think if there are no further questions, we've definitely discussed all topics. Oh, we have one
I think there are some
from.
people that they're raising their hands, but they are in the bottom of the page. Perhaps you don't see them.
Okay. No, if you want to speak, you have to send a request. I got a couple, so let's start with XRPL Jedi. You may speak now.
Hi, thanks for bringing me up. I just wanted to ask if you've explored any use cases around like asset tracking at a small scale, as opposed to sort of large scale things like real estate?
Sorry, can you just repeat your question again? You were cutting off.
My question is around using tokenization to track assets like small scale assets as opposed to large scale assets like real estate. Are there any existing use cases that you're aware of?
With the current technology that Sologenic provides, you can basically tokenize any type of assets. That could be stocks, ETF, commodities, or real estate. In terms of some real estate, some existing real estate tokenized platform. I'm not aware of many of them, but I do understand that there are a couple of companies that are currently working on that. In terms of Sologenic, this is not something on our agenda at this moment, so we're not going to be focusing on real estate. But it doesn't mean that down the road we're not going to be participating. So we may get involved in that market as well.
Exactly. I think asset tracking is something that could be, Sologenic technology could be used for it, but it's not the focus of our company. I would say that as part of our protocol, we partner with other companies to complement the security component. Next up, we have Clyde. You may speak now as well.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I have a question. Maybe I missed it, but I would like to know if you guys have like a timeline when you guys are going to start the pilot of the tokenization platform.
I can probably speak to that. Yeah, we're looking forward to start as soon as possible, but as mentioned before, right, we have to have the proper setup, and that includes, in some cases, the proper licenses. Right now, we are in the process of choosing the most fitting jurisdiction and type of license. So as soon as we have settled that, we'll be ready to announce what the roadmap and timings will be. But I would say that's our priority right now for at least the next month. But Bob, you may want to add on that.
Yes, definitely. Just to elaborate a little bit more on that topic. So we are working on three different solutions at this moment. So the existing one is our application inside the EU is still in progress to obtain MiFID license, which is a broker-dealer license inside the EU. That has been, that application has been pending for 2 years right now. But unfortunately, because of the current lawsuits against xrpl, so it makes it a little bit hard for regulators, just to, especially in US, Canada, and EU, they don't really feel comfortable until there's a clarity on the case between Ripple and SEC. So I believe that once that case has been settled, then it gives the authority more confidence in order to move forward with our application. But we don't want to stop. So what we have done, we are working on two different solutions at the same time. So number one is a pilot program. What we are trying to do, we are in progress of acquiring a broker-dealer firm in smaller jurisdictions. So we are working on 3 jurisdictions right now. There are a couple options available, a couple of firms are available to be acquired. Most probably, we're going to be acquiring one of these firms within the next, I'm hoping personally, I'm hoping for within 2 months, we can just decide and acquire a firm. So once that happens, then in a few months after that, we're going to be launching a pilot program. At the same time, as Otto mentioned, we are looking at other jurisdiction to apply to obtain securities license as well. One of the jurisdiction that we think it could be a great option is UAE. As you can see, UAE, they are extremely crypto friendly and they have a very transparent regulations. Recently, they just released a new set of regulations for the cryptocurrency industry. And we believe that UAE could be one of the best jurisdictions to obtain a broker dealer license from. Uh, we are working on that. The team, they have meetings with our legal firm inside UAE, and we are working on that. So if there's any new update, definitely we are going to release it.
All right. Thank you very much, Bob and Otto.
Thank you, Clyde. I think that's all we have for today. It's been really fruitful AMA. Really happy with the discussions that took place, and yeah, I think we should do this more often. So we'll definitely let you know next time we do an AMA around tokenization once we have an update and a more clear roadmap, like Otto said.
Yes, definitely. I saw that we had some sort of issue with the live streaming software that we use for the video live streaming. That would be, I believe it's a better idea if we can have this as a video AMA, just to have, better, contact with the audience. So hopefully we can work on that, and next time we can have this as a video.
I forgot.
Yes, definitely.
I forgot to ask one question. Maybe I can get this one in. Is there an update regarding the solo cards? Can we get an update on that one?
Yeah, so basically we've been in touch with the company that will provide this, supply these cards, and they came up with a non-custodial solution. So that's why we decided to wait and implement this one. And we're currently in the veins of finalizing details so we can announce a date. And we still have the list of the signees. We will take that into account for sure.
All right. Thank you very much.
Anything to add, Bob, perhaps?
Yeah, that part is actually extremely exciting, and I actually tweeted about that a while ago. But the way that those cards are going to function, actually, we are going to offer two different type of cards. One is with a limit of only $150, which requires a minimal KYC. And but the good news is users, they can be onboarded from any jurisdiction because it's a decentralized solution with a lower limit, obviously $150 only. However, users, they can issue as many cards as they want, and this is a virtual solution. So virtual cards, which you can easily add it to your Google Pay or Apple Pay or the other online wallets. And the other one is actually a more higher limit, a higher limit card, which will be with a limit of $10,000, and that card requires, a full KYC and onboarding.
That makes sense. In terms of the fees, can I disclose that, Bob, or should we leave it for another opportunity?
For the fees, we try just to make this as
competitive,
efficient, yes, as competitive and efficient as possible. The reason is we would like to encourage more users to start using, that part, that component of Sologenic. And so I would just suggest that we finalize. Basically, we announce everything once everything is finalized.
Sounds good.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Otto. Thank you, Eric. And I understand this is your first AMA. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Looking forward for the next one. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.